thank you for taking the time to be here and chatting with me. Definitely appreciate that. And we'll just kind of jump right into it.
All right.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just tell me a little bit about yourself and kind of what drives what
All right.
motivates
Well,
you.
I'm a 37-year-old gay man. Grew up in Chicago. Lived in the Midwest my whole life. Uh, really grew up with a kind of unstable childhood. Single mom, no father. She had two sisters that were younger than me. Really unstable environment, which kind of got me into a bunch of trouble growing up as a kid. Not being guided in the right direction, which is kind of a lot of what I see going on right now with a lot of people and their kids. Got into some rough side of things that I shouldn't have gotten into, which kind of taught me a lot about life and how the world works. And it chewed me up and spit me back out. But thankfully, by the grace of God, I'm able to be here today and overcome a lot of adversities that have been thrown my way. So I feel like it just made me stronger, honestly, to do the work that I do. Because speaking out against what we're going to talk about isn't very, would you say, accepted in the LGBT community. Is if you do speak out against certain things, you're considered a homophobe, a bigot, transphobe, every phobic in the world. You are. So being, you can ask me questions. Basically, I'm an ex-liberal turned conservative, hardcore Hillary supporter. I did a lot of campaigning, a lot of work for the local Democratic Party. And then in 2015, when I got tired of being gaslit, I started to do the big boy thing and do my own research and found out that everything that I had based my whole life on, all of the victim mentality mindset that I was believed that I was, crumbled. And I had to basically relearn how to trust and relearn how to work in the world with everything that I found out that Trump was. Turns out that the people I were backing were actually the people they were talking out against.
What do you think was the final straw?
Well, the final straw for me was when Hillary Clinton was going out there saying that Trump is going to take all our gay rights away. We're going to be shipped away. We're going to get arrested. I'm like, oh, honey, like, this is the Antichrist to any gay, lesbian, bisexual, anybody in the LGBT community. That would be the Antichrist for being,
Kind of the same topic
penalized for
talking
something we
about
can't control.
rounding us up in camps, term,
Right.
whether you're brown, whether you're gay, whether you're, whatever, you're going to be put in camp. You're not a real white. Um, yeah, it's a bunch of gaslighting, and it definitely glad it's done for years. So yeah, so that's kind of what got you into politics, kind of your upbringing, and
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of it too was like growing up. I always believed so like high school mentality, early 20s. My beliefs were we could take care of everybody. We're America. We got the money. We can do it. And just mind you, when I wasn't working or paying big taxes, and not only like realizing that you can't believe everybody, you can't believe everything you see. You have to actually go out and look into things yourself. Otherwise, you're gonna fall for anything. But then realizing how money works and how the system works and how the economy works and how profits and losses and gains. Like I've run restaurants, I ran businesses, I've like done a lot to know that it is not cheap to run a business. It is not, easy to come up in America. And the people that do, and these people who make great money, well, they busted their ass to do that. They put in the work, they did the time, they did the right thing. And I feel like a lot of the liberal ideology is in socialism is asking for handouts and living off everybody else. Well, if everybody did that, who the hell is going to pay all our bills? Like, who the hell is going to carry all that? Like, everybody thinks tax, like, oh, it's government funded. Honey, who do you think the government gets the funds from? Us.
just print more money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just print more. Just print more. They did it all during 2020 and COVID. Why not? Why not?
How old were you when you came out?
Ooh. So publicly, I was like 16, but I got outed by my first boyfriend to my mother. And now, mind you, this is gonna sound fucked up. I was underage and he was older. So I don't know what thought process went through his mind wanting to tell my mom about it, but when she found out, it was that was it. It was done. I had to go. She wasn't having it. It was just I don't know. Drug addict is one thing, but God forbid, you grow up gay. That's a whole. That's a no. Drug addicts are okay, but gay, no, no.
What what was your first interaction with the gay community that kind of let you know, like, yeah, this ain't it?
First interaction. Oh man. Like truthfully, like, are we talking about like interaction with the community or like first gay interaction?
Um, whichever. I mean, really, the first with the community that kind of made you realize, like, not a part of, not a community you really feel like you're a part
Okay.
of.
Okay. Shit, early, like really early on in life. Like I knew I was different, but I didn't know there was a word for it. I just knew that I liked Steve more than I liked Susie for some reason, and I didn't really know why. And that started like as early as like 5 or 6. Like I just started to like notice a lot more things. Like nothing ever became sexual, or I didn't have any sexual ideas or any of that up until like after I was assaulted. And as soon as that happened, it's like my whole world like switched, and it became more sexualized in a way because I was basically conditioned to believe that that was okay, that that's what it was. And so when I had my first actual interaction in the gay community was on my 16th birthday. I had been to Pride on my 15th birthday for the first time ever in Chicago because that's where I grew up. And it was to me it was fun. I had people giving me drinks, it was all the good stuff. Not being able to hold yourself in and just be free and be whoever you are, like that was alluring to me. Like I loved it. I wanted it. It wasn't until my 16th birthday when I started to meet people and get to hang out with them where I was invited behind. It was for a drag show, and I got to go backstage. And the people I were with, mind you, they were friends with me, and they took me in when I had issues with my mom and stuff, and they were always there, like cigarettes, weed, drug, whatever I wanted, I had. They were just getting. And when you're that young, you don't realize what grooming is or what type of intentions the adults will have, because at 15, 16, I'm naive. I'm just trying to be liked by everybody. I want to be friends with everybody, you know. But to basically make the story short, I ended up going to a drag show on my 16th birthday, got really drunk and drugged by the drag queen and the 3 guys I was with. Woke up the next morning, and yeah, I had been molested and sexually assaulted by 4 other people. 3 men and a drag queen who I thought were my best friends, people I could trust and rely on. And it was at that point where everything just took a downward spiral for the worst. I did 14 years of heroin addiction, like living on the streets, homeless, like endless attempts of just like trying to end it. Like I was not a happy person. I was not a nice person. I wouldn't, if I would look at myself, at myself today and see me back then, I would hate myself. Like, that's how bad of a person I was. And it wasn't until, I'd say 2014 when I started to get my stuff together and realized that this is not the life I want to have. I don't want to wake up every morning wondering how I'm going to get high or how I'm going to crave the sickness or get rid of any ill feelings I'm having, and then the endless chase and the high, and it's never going to be like it is in the first time. And I've learned that real quick. So I try to get sober, relapse. Like I've relapsed like at least 8 times from then and now. It wasn't easy. But when I first started to get clean and level-headed, that's when I started to fill one addiction with another, and that was politics. So that's where I switched one vice to another. And to me, it was like a double-edged sword. I learned a lot, but I realized how bad or evil these people in politics and these people in government, like there are very seldom good people that work in politics. I'm just gonna keep it short. those people are evil. I don't know any other
Yeah,
way to put it.
and most of the time they're out for themselves. That's their goal is to line their own pocket, to line their friend's pocket, and really look out for number one. Um,
Right.
and it's on both sides. It's not just the Democrats or Republicans. They're snaking the grass on both sides. It's a shitty world.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
And it's cutthroat. Um, so when did you realize that that and maybe that story there was that turn, but realize the LGBT community wasn't necessarily one that was or
Oof.
welcoming you into it as the person you want to be.
Right. Oh man, it was 2016 when after Trump got elected, we had the first couple months, and everything I was told never happened. Never went to jail, never got locked up, never got flown out of my country. Things were better. I was making money. I was actually sober. Like I was happy. Like I was thriving under Trump. And that's when I realized that if that much lies were told to me in that little span of time, how much of my life was a lie? How much of everything that I was taught and everything I was taught in schools and told by other people was a lie? Like the Great Switch never happened. Like the whole when I started learning about the LGBTQ like history and the whole like Stonewall stuff, and like it was just a contradiction after contradiction after contradiction, and not even with like just Democrats, because it's on both sides, Republican and Democrat. Like when I say I'm conservative, I mean I'm the new age conservative, where it's America first. We're gonna protect our people first, not that old school like 1980s bullcrap, like the rich white man party. I'm not about that. Like the new conservatism that's happening now is like a great awakening on a mass level. It's not even like about race or identity or about politics. It's about loving your neighbor and loving your country and coming together and what's right for people. And like I fell in love with that. And I realized like slowly after time and researching the Republicans and not even the Republicans, but like Trump. Because if it wasn't for Trump, I don't even know if I would be a conservative. You know what I mean? Like he opened my eyes to being conservative and having conservative values and accountability and being self-accountable and reliable. And you're not a victim. You have to work hard for what you want, and you can achieve things. Not only that, but the dude's like a mega billionaire. Like he knows things. Like why wouldn't
Right.
you want that man to run essentially what a country is a business?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want the best businessman out there running our business? Like that's how I think about it. It's just common sense policies. Policies are the big one. I would say conservatively, policy wise, more liberal when it comes to live and let live do you, just as long as don't push it on kids and don't have taxpayers pay for it. It's pretty much like I love closed borders, low taxes. We need to have more American made things. We got to stop like outsourcing. Like all our medications are damn near 100% made in China. Like nothing's made in America anymore. Like we cannot be successful unless we start bringing things home. And it's shutting it down, closing the borders, and manufacturing, drilling, like all the nine. Like I love that because in the end, it trickles down to us people, the common folk, and it makes lower prices, lower gases. Like gas has not been this high since Trump left office, and it hasn't been the same since. I pray for those days again. $1.09, like $1.09 a gallon. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's one of those things that regardless of who's in office, you're 50% of the country is going to be this. More so with Trump in office.
Right.
In the first time, nobody liked he came out of nowhere.
Well, it's like kind of how they say like you have to go through the bad times to realize how good you had it, or I don't know, something along the lines of that. Like
Right.
it was God's way of being like, okay, you thought Trump was bad, okay, checkmate. Here's Biden. Now you tell me how bad Trump really was, and that's when his approval rating went up with Hispanics and blacks and minorities. And honestly, the gay community really showed up for Trump this year. Like I don't know where they got the idea that we wanted them to be the spokesperson for the community, but I never signed I never signed my letter. I never gave my stamp of approval. What's going on and what has been going on over the last 10 years has been insanity.
I've told a lot of people that there are a lot more people out there like you and I than the gay community, number one, wants there to be or think there are. You know, these are just people that they're not necessarily open to having a discussion, but they're going to go to the ballot box and vote whoever. Right?
Hmm.
I think that even in my inner circle here in Central Texas, there's a lot, and there's a lot that are just like, we like Trump. We don't want to talk politics, but that's what we voted for, and that's totally fine. Me, on the other
Right.
hand, I'm a loudmouth. I'm going to talk about it, So,
Right.
and I shared that article with you about the local pride organization here, and their big what we do about the rainbow crosswalk. You know,
Like
they literally want
how?
the whole water main to be moved because the water authority had to come in and tear up apart fix pipe. Like
Hmm.
the narcissism and the victim mentality is extremely real with these
Literally over paint on a damn sidewalk.
Yes.
Like, how does that hurt you? How is that like being anti anything? I don't get it.
Yeah, he called it what was it, a natural or a natural heritage or a heritage part of our heritage. I don't like it's freaking paint on the ground. If I could lay 6 inches of tire rubber on it, I'd love it, But yeah, that's the same group that told me I needed to and I quote, shut the fuck up, fall in line, and start supporting. Um, so I decided to change my softball team name to Slamaga. Um, just this
It's
season
the
to kind
smartest
of
thing to do. I mean, and like people shouldn't be ashamed of it because at the end of the day, everybody who hates Trump now loved him before he ran for president.
oh, absolutely.
That's all I'm going to say. Everybody loved him until he ran for president. And when he started to run for president, that's when it was, he's a Nazi, he's this, he's that. Why? Because he knows the games you guys play and he's going to expose you. And then all your fun time's over.
They all had their hand out.
Yeah.
Daddy Trump, give me $1. Um, so one of the big topics I wanted to talk to you about, which is kind of what caught my eye on your Facebook when I was just kind of looking at you a week back. A lot of issues you've had with school board, the school
Mhm.
board up there in your area, and talk about gays against groomers, and really discuss that kind of in detail. What impact has that had on you? What impact has it had on your life, on the community there, and what's your end goal? You know, how how deep do you want to
Okay,
extend?
well, basically, so I am a co-chapter leader. Well, now there's some switches going on, so I'm just gonna say I am a member right now of the Wisconsin chapter Gays Against Groomers, and basically the organization is comprised of gays, lesbians, transsexuals, bisexuals, who just got tired of the way the community was going and how they became more child involved when it came to drag queen story time, children at Pride. You see all these like LGBTQ and trans ideology themed books being geared towards kindergartners, preschoolers, first like on the whole lot of them, like from pre-K all the way up to high school. You have all these sexualized books. You have not only just the material, but you have activists pretending to be teachers, activists pretending to be doctors and therapists and surgeons, and using the community who already has not so good of a reputation to even do further damage to the community under the guise of being accepting and inclusive and healthcare. It started to make me mad, really, really mad. And there was a couple incidents where went to Pride and I started to see a lot of kids there. And when I mean kids, I'm talking about like 15, 16, 17. I mean like 3, 4, 5 year olds with their parents, mind you, like their parents are there, bringing them there in a stroller. And then you have like a whole parade of people with just painted bodies and, their private parts sticking out and all this. I'm like, so when people think of gay people, this is what they think. And it made me so mad. And I didn't know there was anything like Gays Against Groomers. I knew Jamie Michelle for a little bit, known as the Gay Who Strayed. She's the founder, the one who created all this. Um, so I went on their website, looked them up, and realized, holy shit! Like I love everything they do. I love like I stand with their mission. Like I'm all about this, like reclaiming what it means to be gay and lesbian. it we need to actually, be loud about it and not let these people run amok and just destroy everything we have. Like, we just got gay marriage in 2015. It's only been 10 years. And the consensus around the country is maybe we should rethink this. And they don't want to come out and say it, but you can feel it. You could feel it. Like, this was a slippery slope we talked about. This was this. And it's like all they're giving them is the "we told you so" card to put it out on us every chance they can get it. So, Wisconsin didn't have a chapter, so I decided that I wanted to start one. It was like a year and a half ago. I started the Wisconsin chapter. They gave me permission to start one, run it, and now we have members, and we are doing big things now. We have caught a couple of say representatives, city councilmen at some underage pride events. We've been to Madison. We've spoken out against the bill that we had out here making Madison a trans sanctuary city for minors. There was no like restriction on age of it at all. Like, we do a bunch. We travel around the country to speak out and help parents, go to school board meetings. We're involved in legislation right now all over the country, with a lot of help from a bunch of people inside. And now we have Trump that just passed the two gender bill, and mutilating children is going to be a no-go. And like, that's the things we fight for. It's just basic common sense and sanity. And do what you want to do as an adult. Love who you want to love. But when it comes to kids, like, you have to let them grow up. You have to leave them alone. If I were to grow up now in 2025, I would most likely be considered trans because I'm feminine. I'm a feminine guy who likes makeup and doesn't like masculine things. Like, that's the criteria nowadays, because anybody could be anybody nowadays. The self ID ruined the community so bad. Like, I can go on and on and on, but the biggest reason why I joined Gays Against Groomers and why I work with them is I know what happens when kids go to Pride and when they come from broken homes and when they don't have parents that can guide them or anybody there to protect them. I don't want what happened to me to happen to any one of those kids. And it's sad because in the last 3 years, there's stories that came out all over the country about minors inside like sex houses with drag queens, and it's always a trans person, but not your typical like Blair White or Buck Angel or any of those like common sense trans people. It's the self ID man with a beard that puts makeup on and has a wig, and are most likely just men with fetishes, most likely on drugs, allegedly. This is my opinion. Um, it's just everything they've done in the community. It's just reversed, and it's pretty much damage control now.
I just wish that the actual LGBT community would, and leaders within that community would, you just take a step back and try to get that common. Kids are so impressionable, and if you have them out there, I mean, the local pride events we've had here, you can walk around different booths, things like that, and dildo candles, things like that. How is that okay to build?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you quite.
Yeah, sorry, no, just saying, the local pride event we've had here, you can walk around and, there's, booths there with people, vendors and whatnot selling things, like dildo candles and things like, penis-shaped candles, stuff like that. Like, how is that okay for children? And how is that okay for parents to bring their children around that?
It's not.
It's
It's
just
not.
that creepy.
Yeah. Well, and you could see like, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the sponsors for these events and a lot of the people that are putting money into these events are Planned Parenthood's a big one. You got a lot of hospitals and a lot of medical organizations that are putting big money into Pride. Like, I don't want to go to Pride and see a bunch of kids running around and then there's tents there handing out condoms, handing out coloring pages on how to have sex, where to go to get ST. Like, granted, STD checks, that's cool, but why are we telling this to 10, 11, 12-year-olds and, little 8-year-olds that, oh, here's where you go when you go get an STD. Well, what's wrong about teaching kids about STDs? Well, why do they need to know what an STD is at such a young age? Like, letting them know what STD is comes with explaining to them how you get an STD. And then you got to explain to them what it means when you have the actions of getting an, like, there's more to it. And I feel like people don't let kids just be innocent and grow up. And they grow up so fast. The kids are over sexualized. They're treated like adults at a very young age. It's like, what the hell happened? I don't know what shifted so fast and so hard. But thankfully now there's common sense back where there should be, and we have support on a federal level, because trying to get these bills passed and trying to get people to listen on a local level is hard. Very hard.
Yep.
And it wasn't until recent that a lot of people started waking up to it. So they're coming out, they're speaking out more, they're backing everybody who fights against this. We work a lot with Moms for Liberty as well, like out here. So like we're interconnected. We work with a lot of people. Like at the end of the day, it's not about our sexuality. That's just who we happen to be, but that's not who we are. We want kids to be left alone for them to grow up. Adults do you, but the federal funding from it, the DEI and all that being pushed, it's just like so much interconnected nonsense, and there's finally someone there to shatter it and build it back up. The whole education system is a mess. It's kids don't go there to learn, they go there to get indoctrinated. It's so sad.
Absolutely. And the leaders within the community, specifically the gay community, are the ones who, again, not taking that common sense approach to it, and they're okay with the
Yeah, they don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
They don't think they're doing anything wrong. They think that everything they're doing is justified and is for the greater good. It's like you don't understand. Like there's a lot of nuance with it too. Like, hey, cool, kids could be at Pride, okay, but the Pride event is all ages. The Pride event is open to everybody. We have drag queen performers that are on sex offender registry list. We have pedophiles that could just walk right in. Nobody's vetting these people. Nobody's like, you can't just go up to somebody and be like, oh, hey, are you on a SO list, or are you a pedophile? Like you can't do that to random people, but you're giving them an option to go in there and do what they do by having no restrictions, by having kids there. Like it's just, I don't get what is not to understand why kids shouldn't be at Pride.
And I think a big part of it is how they were raised, and specifically here in our community here in San Antonio. Um, a lot of the members of the Pride board are 50, 60 years old plus, and it's like they lived through the whole Stonewall thing and all of that stuff. So they were kids at that time, wishing they had more information, and now they're wanting to think that you're still in the same era of
Right.
the 50s and 60s, and it's not. We're in a sick, twisted, evil era with people who have extreme mental disabilities, and they're okay with having children around these people, and it's just not okay. It's a different era, and for them to not realize, that people don't have the same good intentions as they did in the 50s and 60s. It's like wake up and see realization, and if you tell them that, then they play the victim, and you're a phobe, and you're an this, and you're all of the everything under the sun.
It's like those words don't even have any more meaning anymore. It's like they've said you're homophobic and transphobic so much. It's like nobody's gonna believe you anymore, and that which sucks, because if something is actually a hateful homophobic act or a transphobic act on somebody, they're not gonna believe them. And like the whole thing too, like I don't know what do you feel about the whole DSM-5 and the transgenderism being taken off and not considered a mental disorder. They wanted that, and now they're mad that because it's not in the DSM-5, healthcare doesn't have to cover their transition medication because it's not a mental illness. So it's like they bitch about one thing and they get it, and then when they get the ramifications for said thing they wanted, then they're like back to square one. Well, this is transphobic. This is what you wanted, though.
Yep. There's no being happy.
No.
If they can't be the victim, they're not happy. They're happy playing a victim, being a victim, and really living with that victim mentality. We're coming up on 30 minutes, and I do appreciate your time. But it's kind of one more question for you. What would be
for sure.
piece of advice that you would have, or that you would give a homosexual currently afraid to speak up or speak out against the quote unquote community?
Thank you for that question, because I feel like it is 2025. We have every right that our straight counterparts have. We are not discriminated against anymore. This is not 1999 or 2000 when you growing up being gay was actually a threat to you. You could get beat up. You could lose your job. We don't have to worry about that anymore. There's a new threat, and that is this radical ideology. Do not be afraid to say things that are truthful, because at the end of the day, if you really love someone, you're going to tell them the truth, whether it hurts their feelings or not, or whether they're going to like you afterwards or be your friend. Now is not the time to stay silent. If you think that we're going to lose our rights under Trump, no. But what will happen is we're not going to be respected anymore. People are not going to take us serious anymore. People are going to be afraid of us. And that's not the life I think any of us want to have. We've had this issue in the beginning with NAMBLA, the North American Man Boy Love Association, going to Pride and trying to attach themselves to the LGBT community and making pedophilia a sexual orientation. And I don't know how far a lot of these people are on their journey in LGBTQ history or not, but right now with the MAPS, the minor attracted people situation we have going on, I would say now is the time to speak up and not be afraid. We have people out there that are trying to justify pedophilia and make it part of a identity, a sexuality orientation. And if that doesn't scare you, then I don't know what will to wake you up. Just know that you're not only fighting for yourself, you're fighting for the future generation of kids too. The future gays and the future lesbians, and heavens forbid the future they thems, if it even goes that far. I hope it doesn't, but it's just, we can't give up. And to be afraid to speak up, we're gay, we're loud. Like, what are you afraid of? Do what's innately us, speak up, and don't be afraid. Like, people who are meant to be in your life will be in your life no matter what you say or what you do. And if they're not, then they're never meant to be in your life anyway. But I don't want to go down in history being someone who sat on the sidelines and stayed quiet. I would rather lose everything I have and everything that I fought for and worked for in order to protect my reputation, to protect these kids, and to protect whatever semblance of acceptance we have in our country. Like, I will not let this happen. It can't. It just can't. Like, kids don't need to be molested or sex trafficked or used in like the internet social media game of clout, transing their kids. Like, it is insane. And if you want common sense, start speaking up now, because you have to. You just have to speak up. Don't be afraid.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's great advice for anybody, you know.
Yeah, anybody. You don't have to be gay, straight, or lesbian. Anybody.
We just happen to have, opinions about everything. So, but no, I appreciate your time. It's been a very fast 30 minutes.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
would definitely like to have you on again.
I would
Sometime.
love to.
Kind of chat about things. I'm just getting this started.
Yeah, we actually, if you don't mind me, we plug in. We have an event coming up, so I don't know like how far you are from Wisconsin, but in Sturgeon Bay, on February 22nd, we're going to be hosting a panel of detransitioners and parents whose kids were affected by the trans ideology at the lodge at Latham Smith. We have food, drinks. We're gonna have bar, everything. It's a great panel we have. Moms for Liberty will be moderating it. It is hosted by the Wisconsin Gays Against Groomers. So if anybody that's watching is in the Wisconsin area and wants to reach out, I'll send you the flyer for it so you can post on your social and let anybody who has questions. We have an event, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. I appreciate the work you're doing and everybody out there is doing. I again appreciate your time and look forward to next time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and if you have any, like, your audience or whatever, or parents that have kids that are struggling with this social contagion and doesn't know what to do, you could always have them reach out to the gaysagainstgroomers.com. There's always people there that can help. We have resources. We have a lot of literature that can help them how to like fight back. And you just got to use your voice, use what God gave you, and speak up.
Absolutely. Great advice. We'll make sure to post that website as well. Is this a nationwide organization?
So yeah, this is the main. So it's Gays Against Groomers is the organization, and then within the organization, there's different state chapters all over the country. Yes, we have a California chapter, Washington, Wisconsin, Illinois. But now, as of February, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but it's going to be expanding a lot more. Let's just say we're going to be going nationwide. So we have a lot of big things coming up. We just had a book release. We're having a movie release. We just had a kids book release. Like we are getting out there a lot this year.
Awesome. I'll definitely follow that. Maybe when those
Think about
events start
joining.
happening.
You should
Absolutely.
join.
Yeah. When those events start happening too, we'll talk about it and see how things are progressing. And
Awesome.
alrighty. Well, again, I appreciate your time. Successful first episode here.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I feel
Enough
honored.
more. I appreciate your time and definitely your input on everything. And,
Thank you.
Kudos to you for picking yourself up and turning things around.
Right. I mean, well, if you ever want to talk again, just hit me up. You got Facebook, Instagram, all that, and I'll be sure to share your video too when it comes out. Make sure they all get it and it gets shared very well.
Absolutely, will do. I'll get that out to you as soon as I get everything.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks for
Have a good
having me.
one. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon. Take care.
Bye.